The Love and Hip Hop Atlanta set has never been a stranger to drama, but what unfolded recently left even the most seasoned cast members speechless. Sources close to production have revealed that Rashida walked off set in tears after a private confession from Karlie Redd that no one saw coming. Fans are already buzzing, piecing together clues from the latest trailer and behind-the-scenes whispers. But what exactly did Karlie say that shook Rashida so deeply? Was it connected to the long-standing rumors about Kirk's secret life? Or did Karlie reveal something entirely new that caught everyone off guard? The tension had been building for weeks, and just when viewers thought things might settle, this emotional bombshell dropped right in the middle of filming. Those lucky enough to be on set described the atmosphere as ice-cold, complete silence after Rashida got up. Her mic still attached, visibly wiping her face as she exited the room. And while some cast members tried to comfort her, others stood, frozen, unsure of what to do next. It wasn't just a scene for the cameras anymore. This was real. Stay tuned, because we're about to break down exactly what led to this unforgettable moment, and why fans can't stop talking about it. The energy on set that day was off from the moment Rashida walked in, even without the cameras rolling. Yet, the entire production team felt it. The usual easy laughter, the casual side conversations, the quick jokes between the cast, all of that was missing. Instead, there was just quiet. Quiet looks. Quiet movements. Everybody was on edge, as if they all knew something was coming, but no one wanted to say it out loud. Rasheeda stepped onto set wearing her usual confident look, hair perfectly styled. Outfit fitted just right. But if you paid close attention, her eyes told a different story. They weren't as bright as usual. Her smile wasn't as easy. She kept glancing around, like she was looking for something or someone she wasn't sure she wanted to see. The producers had set up a small lounge space for this particular scene. Nothing flashy, just a round table, 3 chairs, and some soft lighting. Karlie Redd and Bambi were already seated, waiting for Rashida. Both of them looked serious, hands folded, eyes down. It's kind of body language that tells you this isn't about casual catch-ups or playful shade. As Rashida sat down, she offered a polite greeting, but it was clear she wasn't in the mood for small talk. Her voice was tight, controlled. "So what's this about?" she asked after a moment, looking directly at Karlie. Karlie didn't answer right away. Instead, she glanced at Bambi, then back at Rashida, her jaw tightening. It wasn't like her usual messy energy. This was heavier, more deliberate. Bambi spoke up first. "Look, Rashida, we ain't trying to ambush you or nothing, but there's some stuff you need to know." Rashida's eyes narrowed slightly. What kind of stuff? Again, there was a pause, the kind of pause where everyone holds their breath. Even the crew behind the cameras barely moved. Finally, Karlie leaned forward slightly. Her voice was calm, quieter than usual. "It's about Kirk." Those 3 words changed everything in the room. Rashida's whole face shifted, her jaw clenched, her eyes darkened just a little. "What about him?" she asked, her voice flat. Karlie reached down beside her chair, pulling out a slim folder. Not big, not thick. Just enough to hold a few sheets of paper, but the weight of it felt enormous. "I wasn't sure if I should say anything," Karlie said quietly. "But after everything that's been going on, I can't keep this to myself no more." She pushed the folder across the table toward Rasheeda. The camera zoomed in on Rashida's hands as she picked it up. Her fingers steady, but her expression blank. That's the thing about real hurt. It doesn't always show up as screaming or crying. Sometimes it's just silence. Too much silence. Rasheeda opened the folder slowly. The first page was a flight itinerary. Kirk's name, travel dates that didn't match up with anything Rashida could remember. The second page showed hotel reservations. Again, Kirk's name, same dates. Different city, but it was the third page that really hit. A photo blurry, like it had been taken from a distance. Kirk standing next to a woman, not holding hands. Not kissing, but close enough that it didn't look like no random meeting. The camera caught everything. Rashida's face tightening, her eyes blinking a little faster, her hands shaking just slightly as she turned the page back and forth, looking again. And looking again. Again, like maybe she'd seen it wrong the first time. Karlie spoke again, her voice steady. "I didn't want to be the one to bring this to you. But after everything we've been through, I couldn't sit on it no more." Bambi added softly, "Rashida, we only showing you this because we care. You deserve to know the truth." But Rashida wasn't hearing it. Her eyes stayed locked on that folder. Her whole body looked tense, like she was holding herself together with pure force of will. Finally, after what felt like forever, she closed the folder slowly and set it down on the table. Her hands folded on top of it, fingers laced tightly. When she spoke, her voice was quiet but sharp. "How long you been sitting on this, Karlie?" Karlie swallowed hard. "A while." "Why now?" Rashida asked. Her voice cracked just a little. "Why you bringing this to me now? In front of cameras?" Karlie looked down because ... I didn't know if it was my place before, but now, seeing everything going on ... I couldn't hold it back no more. Rashida let out a slow breath through her nose, eyes closing for a second, like she was trying to calm herself down. Then she stood up. Bambi stood too, but she didn't move to stop her. Neither did Karlie. They just watched as Rashida pushed her chair back quietly, picked up the folder and held it in her hand like it weighed 100 pounds. "I can't do this right now," Rashida said softly. "I really can't." Her voice broke on the last word. And then, just like that, she turned and walked away from the table. The cameras followed her as she moved through the lounge, past the production crew. Her mic was still on, catching every breath. Rashida didn't say much, just little sounds, soft sniffles, her footsteps echoing in the quiet hallway. When she reached the door, she paused for a second, wiped her face quickly with the back of her hand. Then she pushed it open and stepped outside. No big scene. No dramatic goodbye, just gone. Back at the table, Bambi and Karlie sat in silence. Bambi let out a slow sigh, running her hand through her hair. "This ain't how I wanted today to go," she muttered. Karlie didn't say anything. Her eyes stayed on the door where Rashida had just disappeared. After a long pause, she finally spoke. "Maybe it was never going to be easy," Karlie said quietly. "But at least now she knows." The crew cut the cameras a few seconds later, but the weight in the room didn't lift. Everyone moved slower, softer. Nobody wanted to be the first to break the silence. Outside, Rashida stood on the sidewalk, folder still in hand. Her phone buzzed in her pocket, probably Kirk calling, but she didn't answer. She just stood there, staring at the sky, blinking back tears that kept coming no matter how hard she tried to hold them in. And as news of what happened started to spread among the cast and crew, everyone knew this wasn't just another love and hip-hop moment. This was real. This was deep. And nothing was ever going to be the same again as Rashida stood outside the set, gripping that folder tighter than she probably realized. The air around her felt heavier with each passing second. There wasn't a single camera. Crew following her, now production, had agreed not to film beyond that door. But there were still phones recording from a distance. Background crew, assistants, even random onlookers caught blurry clips of her wiping her face with the back of her hand, standing frozen like she didn't know whether to walk or just break down right there. Inside, everyone else was still sitting in stunned silence. Karlie hadn't moved from her seat. Bambi had quietly stepped to the side, phone in hand, but even she wasn't her usual self. For once, there were no whispered jokes, no side comments. Everyone knew this moment was too real to treat like just another episode scene. The production team huddled quietly in one corner, debating whether they should check on Rashida or let her have space. Ultimately, they decided to leave her be for now. Meanwhile, word about what had just gone down was already spreading across Atlanta. Bloggers, who had been tipped off earlier in the day that a major scene was being filmed, started posting vague tweets and Instagram stories. No names were mentioned yet, but everyone who followed the show closely already had their theories. Fans started writing things like, "I bet this got something to do with Kirk and Rashida again." And they weren't wrong as the sun dipped lower. Rashida finally moved. She pulled out her phone and made one quiet call, not to Kirk, not to production. She called Spice. Spice answered almost immediately. "Rashida, where you at?" For a long second, Rashida didn't say anything. Then her voice came through the line, low and rough. "I need you to come get me." Within 20 minutes, Spice pulled up in her car. No cameras, no extra people. It's just her. When Rashida climbed into the passenger seat, she didn't say much. She just handed Spice the folder and stared out the window. Spice opened it slowly, flipping through the pages one by one. The hotel bookings, the flight receipts, the blurry photo. Spice's mouth tightened. "Damn, yeah," Rashida said, her voice flat. "You sure this real?" Spice asked carefully. Not because she didn't believe Karlie, but because she knew how dangerous assumptions could be. Rashida shook her head slowly. "I don't know anymore." For a few moments, neither of them said anything. The only sound was the quiet hum of the car's engine as Spice drove them away from the set. Back at the lounge, Karlie finally got up from her chair. She wasn't the type to sit still for long, and even now, as heavy as things felt, she couldn't just sit and wait for someone else to decide what came next. She walked outside, but didn't go far, just leaned against the side of the building, phone in hand. After a minute, Bambi joined her. "You all right?" Bambi asked, her voice softer than usual. Karlie shrugged. "I don't know. I thought telling her would make me feel better. But it don't." Bambi nodded slowly. "Sometimes the truth don't feel good, even when it's the right thing." Karlie let out a dry laugh. "Maybe." The two of them stood there in silence, watching as the last few crew members packed up gear and equipment. Production was officially shut down for the night. There wouldn't be any more filming today. Not after that. Meanwhile, social media was heating up. Even without full details, fans had picked up on the energy shift. A few behind-the-scenes clips had leaked, nothing showing Rashida's face directly, but enough for people to know something serious had gone down. Hashtags started trending. Hashtag LHHATL and hashtag pray for RASHEEDA both popped up within hours. One blogger posted a cryptic story saying, "Karlie just flipped the whole season upside down. Y'all ain't ready." That same night, Kirk posted an Instagram story. It wasn't a video or a photo, just a black screen with a single line of text. "Sometimes silence is necessary." Fans flooded the post with comments asking what he meant, demanding answers. Some begged him to make a statement. Others dragged him mercilessly, calling him out for years of alleged lies finally catching up. But Kirk didn't reply, and neither did Rasha as the hours stretched into late night. Spice and Rashida ended up back at Spice's place. No cameras, no crew, just two friends sitting in the living room, quiet music playing low in the background. "You want to talk about it?" Spice asked gently as she handed Rashida a glass of water. RASHEED shook her head. "Not yet." She sat there for a long time, folder still in her lap like she couldn't let it go. Finally, she spoke. "You know what's crazy?" Rashida said, voice low. "This ain't even about the cheating no more. It's about the lies. All these years, thinking I knew what was real." Spice didn't interrupt. She just let her talk. "It's like, how many times did I defend him?" Rashida continued, her voice cracking slightly. "How many times did I tell people it was different? Behind closed doors?" Spice leaned forward, her tone firm but kind. "You ain't gotta blame yourself for trusting somebody you love." Rashida let out a hollow laugh. "Feels stupid now." Outside, the city lights glowed, but inside, everything felt dimmer, quieter, back. At production headquarters, the team was already holding emergency meetings. They had footage to review, episodes to edit, and a cast to manage all while making sure things didn't spiral out of control. One producer spoke up in the middle of the meeting. "This ain't just another fight we can edit down. This is bigger. This is personal." The rest of the team nodded in agreement. By the next morning, things had escalated even further. One of Kirk's old business partners leaked a statement anonymously to a gossip site. The post claimed Kirk had been running games for years, using fake business trips as cover. Again, no concrete proof. Just whispers. But at this point, whispers were enough. Fans believed what they wanted to believe, and right now, most of them believed Karl. As the morning sun rose over Atlanta, Rashida finally made a decision. She called production herself. "I'm ready to talk," she said simply. They scheduled a confessional shoot immediately. Private, no cast members. Just Rashida, a producer, and a single camera. When she arrived, there was no glam team, no entourage. It's just her, dressed in simple jeans and a plain shirt. No makeup except for a little gloss. She sat down quietly, took a deep breath, and looked into the camera. "I don't know what y'all want me to say," she began, "because right now, I'm still figuring it out myself." She didn't cry. On camera, didn't raise her voice. She just spoke in that same quiet, steady tone. It's one thing when strangers got stuff to say about your life, but when it's people close to you, people you trusted, that hit different. Her voice cracked just slightly. "I ain't perfect. I never claimed to be, but I always kept it real." She let the silence stretch for a long moment. "So now I gotta figure out what's real, right? And what's not." And with that, she leaned back in her chair, folded her hands in her lap, and waited for the cameras to cut. But the conversation wasn't over. Not by a long shot. As Rashida's text hit production, the mood on set shifted again. Producers scrambled to clear a private confessional room, this time with no interruptions. No background crew, just Rashida, a camera operator, and the director. Rashida arrived quickly, dressed down in comfortable clothes, no heels, just sneakers. Her hair pulled back. She looked ready to say what needed to be said when the cameras started rolling. Her voice was steady, betraying none of the turmoil beneath. She took a deep breath. "I've been quiet too long," she said softly. "And I know you've all been waiting for me to react, but I wanted to do it right." She paused, glancing down at her hands resting in her lap. "This season, it's always been about showing the world who we are. Our successes, our families, our struggles. But nobody ever showed what happens when trust breaks." Fans watching later would note how calm she sounded, even though her eyes darkened with hurt. "Karlie laid those papers out in front of me," Rashida continued. "I saw flight receipts for trips he never told me about, hotel bookings with names that weren't mine, and that photo of him with some woman I'd never met." She closed her eyes for a moment as if she could feel that betrayal burning anew. "I felt everything freeze," she admitted. "My heart went to my throat, and for a second, I couldn't breathe." There was a muffled sound as she drew in a shaky breath. "So I walked off. I left the set because I needed space. Not because I wanted to run away from the truth, because I needed to face it alone." The camera caught the slight tremor in her hands. "Behind the scenes, nobody understood why I did it. They thought I was being dramatic. But trust me, this wasn't drama. It was life." She looked back at the lens. "I've spent years defending Kirk, telling people we were unbreakable, telling myself he loved me, he respected me, he'd never hurt me like that, but the folder said otherwise." Rashida paused again, her voice catching. "I want people to know this isn't just about a man stepping out. It's about living with the secrets. I didn't just lose faith in him, I lost faith in my own judgment." That admission landed like a punch. Fans would later highlight it as the moment she stopped playing the reality star and started being a real person. "So, what happens now?" she asked, her tone quiet, rhetorical. "Do we pick up the pieces and pretend nothing happened? Or do we let the truth guide the next step?" The room was silent, not a word from the crew. Rashida let the silence stretch, giving every viewer at home a chance to feel that moment with her. "I'm here to say I'm choosing myself now," she continued, voice stronger. "I'm choosing honesty even when it hurts, because that's the only way forward." With those words, she reached forward and gently pushed an envelope toward the camera. Fans would later learn it contained her own compiled evidence, texts, where Kirk had said he loved another woman, voicemails she'd found but never played. This was her counterpoint to Karlie's folder. "I was holding on to this too," she admitted. "But it wasn't until Karlie showed me something that I realized I had my own receipts." Everyone on set knew that this moment had shifted everything. Reality TV moments were made in confessional rooms all the time. But rarely did they feel this raw. The camera cut, but Rashida didn't get up immediately. She sat there for a moment, eyes closed, as if mentally bracing herself for whatever came next. Outside the confessional, production didn't quite know how to proceed. They'd just captured their strongest cast member admitting her own truths in a way nobody expected. It wasn't just a single storyline anymore. It was a tangled web of betrayals, half-truths, and emotional wreckage. Later that evening, Mall crew brought Rashida back into a group scene, this time with Karlie and Mimi. The plan was to let them talk it out face to face. But by now, everyone knew that talk wasn't like any other. It would be an emotional reckoning. Rasheed entered the room first. She didn't look at Karlie. She just sat down, folded her hands, and stared straight ahead. Karlie walked in next, carrying a small bag. Her posture was calm, controlled. When she saw Rashida, she paused, then took a seat across from her. Mimi sat between them awkwardly. Adjusting her microphone, she cleared her throat. "I know this is hard," she said gently, "but maybe it's time to hear each other out." Rashida nodded slightly, finally turning to look at Karlie. "You went through my personal life," she said, voice low. In front of everybody, Karlie met her gaze. "I did. And I'm sorry you had to find out like that." For once, Karlie sounded remorseful. It wasn't the defensive energy fans had seen when rumors first spread. This was sincerity. "I thought maybe you already knew," Karlie continued. "But I realized you didn't, and I couldn't keep it from you." Rashida let out a bitter laugh. "You couldn't keep it from me, but he could. Kirk sat with those lies right next to me." Karlie shook her head. "That's not on me." The room felt like it could crack in half. Mimi watched both women, her expression pained. "We all share the blame," Mimi said softly. "We let things simmer too long. We pointed fingers, made excuses." Rashida leaned forward. Tears welled again, but she blinked them back. "So what now?" she asked. "Do we just drag him back in and hope for the best?" Before Karlie could answer, the door opened. Kirk stepped in unexpectedly. Everyone froze. He looked at Rashida, then at Karlie. No words. Just that tense moment. Rasheed stood up, nearly colliding with her chair. "Kirk," she said, voice shaking. "She came back." Kirk swallowed, his voice quiet. "I had to." The producers signaled to roll cameras. Whatever happened next would be captured for millions to see. Karlie watched them both, expression unreadable. Mimi sat between them, looking like she wished she could disappear. The camera zoomed in on Kirk's face as he took a step toward Rashida. "I know I hurt you," he began, voice raw. "And I'm sorry, more than you can imagine." Rashida's eyes filled. She looked at him, pain and anger warring on her face. "Sorry, don't fix receipts," she shot back. "Sorry, don't erase the lies." Karlie's head snapped up as if she hadn't expected that line. Kirk's shoulders slumped. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Rashida's tears fell freely. "I gave you everything," she whispered. And maybe that was my mistake. The cameras rolled as Kirk tried to reach for her hand. She pulled away. Stepping back, I don't know if I can do this again, she said, voice breaking. I don't know if there's anything left to fix. Karlie watched quietly, her own tears shining in her eyes. Maybe you both need time, Karlie offered gently. Space to figure out if what you had is still worth saving. Rashida turned to Karlie, surprise flickering on her face. For a second, it felt like that friendship, that bond, could find a way to mend. But Rashida looked back at Kirk, her expression hardening. I need to find peace on my own, she said. And until I do, I can't keep pretending everything is okay. With that, she walked past Kirk and Karlie out of the room again. Tears falling silently. The camera stayed on Kirk for a long beat. He sank onto the couch, head in hands. Karlie reached over, a hesitant gesture, and placed a hand on his shoulder, and just like that, the scene ended. The cameras cut. The set went silent. What viewers saw felt like the shattering of a fairy tale, the moment a perfect world breaks. In 2. And as the rumble of that raw, unfiltered confrontation spread online, fans everywhere knew they had witnessed something that would define this season forever. After Rashida walked out, the set felt emptier than ever. Kirk sat heavily on the couch, fingers tangled in his hair. Karlie hesitated before she placed a hand on his shoulder. Just a touch, not a hug. He looked up, eyes red, and nodded. The cameras were still rolling, but no one spoke. This silence was its own statement. Outside, crew members exchanged worried looks. This season had always thrived on tension, but now it felt like reality itself was bleeding into the footage. Producers whispered about pushing back the next group scene, giving everyone time to process. Karlie sat down beside Kirk, her voice low. This wasn't my plan, she said softly. I thought telling the truth would help. I didn't know it would hurt so many people. Kirk's throat moved as he swallowed hard. I never meant for it to get out like this, he replied, voice rough. But I can't lie anymore, not even to myself. Karlie nodded, closing her eyes. Sometimes the truth is a knife, she said, but it's better than living in a coffin of lies. As they spoke, fans online debated what would happen next. Live feeds captured snippets: Kirk looking broken, Karlie looking weary but determined. One clip showed Kirk wiping his face with the back of his hand. Another showed Karlie staring into space, pain etched across her features. Back inside, Mimi appeared to guide the scene back on track. She stepped forward, offering a gentle smile. If we're gonna finish this, let's do it honestly, she said. No more secrets today. Kirk took a slow breath. You all deserve to hear from me, he said, so here it is. He stood, walking over to the center of the room. Everyone watched as he reached into his pocket, pulling out his phone. I found something else, he said, holding it up. Messages I never deleted. I thought I had. They're old, from before we even got married. He swiped the screen toward Rashida before anyone else. The camera caught her hand quivering. When she reached for it, she held the phone close, squinting to read tiny words. A gasp escaped her lips. He was talking to someone else even back then, she whispered. How did I never see this? Kirk's shoulders slumped, tears falling freely now. I was scared, he admitted. Scared of losing you, scared of losing my image. I blocked it out, but it never really went away. Rashida looked up, eyes red and glossy. So you let it fester, she said. You let it grow like a cancer. Room held its breath. Karlie looked away, glancing at Bambi, who gave her a small nod. Even amidst all this tension, there was unspoken solidarity among them. I'm sorry, Kirk said quietly. I can't change the past, but I can show you I've changed. I'm trying. Rashida drew in a shaky breath. She turned away, wiping her tears. Trying isn't enough, she said. Not when you've built your life on lies. Again, She walked away, leaving Kirk and Karlie alone in that center space. Kirk sank to his knees, leaning against the couch. Karlie stood behind him, her hand on his back. Mimi signaled to cut. The camera stopped, but no one moved. The atmosphere was too charged, too raw. Later that night, a private meeting took place with senior producers. They reviewed the days. Footage, Kirk's confession, Rashida's breakdown, Karlie's steadfast gaze. They debated whether to air it as is or trim it down. Some argued it was the most compelling storyline ever filmed. Others worried it was too personal, too painful. Meanwhile, Rashida returned to her home, the folder still clutched in her hand. She walked into her living room, setting everything on the coffee table. The receipts, the messages, the hotel bookings. She sat down, flipping through each piece of evidence again, as if trying to make sense of it all. Later, she texted her closest friends outside the show, asking for advice. Some told her to leave Kirk for good. Others urged caution, reminding her of years they'd built together. But Rashida knew the decision was hers alone. The next day, filming resumed with a smaller scene. Bambi, Spice, and Mimi sat in a circle, talking through what they'd witnessed. No Kirk, no Rashida, just their reactions. Spice's voice trembled. "I've seen a lot, but I've never seen Rashida like that. She's always been the rock. But she looked so small, lost." Bambi nodded, wiping her own tears. "Karlie's right, sometimes truth cuts deeper than any lie. But we did this to her. We should have said something sooner." Mimi sighed. "It's easy to judge from the sidelines. But being in her shoes, I don't know if any of us could handle it." As they spoke, producers took notes. They knew this unscripted, raw honesty was what viewers craved. They wove those reactions into the upcoming episode, layering it between Rashida's confessional and Kirk's pleas for forgiveness. That afternoon, Kirk returned to set for another one-on-one, this time with Mimi. As they sat down, the air was heavy, but Kirk seemed steadier. "I'm here to answer questions," he said. "Any questions?" Mimi asked gently, "How do you want people to remember you? As the guy who lied or as someone who owned up to it?" Kirk hesitated, looking into the camera. "I'd like to be remembered as someone who found the courage to face his mistakes, even if I can't fix everything." That admission hit home for many viewers who rewatched it online. Social media comments praised Kirk for stepping up, even as others accused him of being too little, too late. By the time Rashida returned for the final group scene of the week, the set felt charged with anticipation. Everyone wondered what she'd say, how she'd look, if she'd even show up. When she entered, she walked straight to Kirk. No cameras circled her. No applause. Just a moment of two people who had been through hell standing face to face. She stared at him, then at the folder in his hand. He held it now. It's the same one Karlie had shown her days earlier. "I've seen everything," she said quietly. "And I forgive you, partly. I forgive the man I know, not the lies he told." Kirk's eyes softened. "Thank you," he whispered. She nodded once. Truth and trust have to rebuild together. If you want that, you've got to live it every day. With those words, they sat down together at the table where Karlie and Mimi waited. Three of them in a circle, cameras rolling. The air was still heavy, but there was a sliver of hope outside. Fans watched trailers for the upcoming episode with fresh buzz. Rashida's forgiveness and can Kirk prove himself? Trending everywhere. And though the season was far from over, that moment felt like a turning point, a real, heartfelt step toward healing, forgiveness, and maybe, just maybe, a new beginning. Now that you've seen Rashida's raw breakdown and Kirk's tearful admissions, what do you think comes next for this power couple? Will Rashida's partial forgiveness lead to real change, or is this just the calm before another storm? And what about Karlie? Did her bold move finally spark the honest conversations everyone needed, or did it only deepen the wounds? We want to hear your take. Do you believe Rasheeda and Kirk can rebuild trust, or is their relationship beyond repair? Were you on Team Karlie when she first laid those receipts on the table, or do you think she crossed a line? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and tell us where you stand. Are you rooting for Rasheeda's fresh start, backing Kirk's redemption arc, or simply here for the unfiltered drama? If this episode had you glued to the screen, give us a thumbs up and show your support. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a single twist, because Love and Hip Hop Atlanta Season 13, it's only getting more intense from here. Hit that bell icon to stay updated on every confession, every reveal, and every unexpected turn. We're just getting started, and trust us, you won't want to blink.